You've already seen it many times before, but you did not know it was there. It is one of my most used pieces of equipment, and today it gets its well-deserved spot on the center stage. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the GVM PRO-SD300B bicolor LED for professional filmmakers and photographers. My name is Thomas Eisl. I'm a professional photographer from Vienna, Austria. I've said it many times before, and it is still true. You don't need the latest and greatest camera or the most expensive lens to get the job done. What you do need, however, is the best possible lighting equipment. Without good light, even the best camera won't get the shot right, and no post-production trick is going to fix that. There is just no room for compromise when it comes to lighting equipment. I've acquired the GVM PRO-SD300B specifically to light numerous projects over the last months, as well as to conduct lab tests of photographic equipment. So the bar is quite high for today's candidate. Let's find out whether the SD300B earned its keep or not. The SD300B uses a bicolor LED with a chip-on-board design, meaning that multiple LED chips are mounted in direct contact with the substrate. This construction allows for a higher density of LED chips per unit of area, and it is the de facto standard for top-of-the-line LED lighting equipment. When it comes to lighting quality, the GVM PRO-SD300B could be described with one word: excellent. At Kelvin settings from 3200 until 6800, the light constantly delivers a CRI of at least 96, even after 10 hours of continued use. Only at 2700 Kelvin, the average CRI is slightly below 96, which is still more than enough, even for critical work. The manufacturer's average rating of 97 is justified and grounded in reality. Just like the CRI, the maximum power delivery varies slightly with the set Kelvin setting. The highest measured difference was half a stop between 5000 Kelvin and 2700 Kelvin. It is important to underline that this is a very minimal variation for a bicolor light and deserves the attribute negligible. Examining the maximum light output at 5000 Kelvin at 1 meter, the measured EV100 for the bare bulb was 12 eV and 14.4 eV with the standard reflector. Again, this is in line with the manufacturer's specifications. Regardless of brightness or Kelvin setting, the light never switches to 100% duty cycle, most likely to ensure stable light output across the whole Kelvin range. With low quality LEDs, this can be a problem, as the pulse width modulation frequency might interfere with the recording equipment. The GVM PRO-SD300B, however, utilizes a relatively high PWM frequency of 15 kHz. For an off-the-shelf product, this is very high and definitely above average. Indeed, 15 kHz is an excellent frequency, as it is an integer multiple of both 25 and 50 as well as 30 and 60. This is also the reason why the average filmmaker will perceive these lights as essentially flicker-free, although they technically aren't. To illustrate the capabilities of the unit, I calculated various frame rate shutter speed combinations which I lab tested. As long as a frame rate, which is an integer multiple of the flicker frequency, is set, practically any shutter speed slower than the flicker frequency can be used. So let's start with 50p and a shutter speed of 12,800, which is still below the 15 kHz flicker frequency of the GVM. As you can see, perfectly flicker free. As 60p is also an integer multiple of the flicker frequency, we can record at this frame rate as well. Again, perfectly flicker free. But even if we want to use a frame rate which is not an integer multiple of the light's flicker frequency, this is not an issue as long as the shutter speed is an integer multiple of the flicker frequency itself. So let's say we want to record something cinematic. So 24p it is. Now we just have to adjust the shutter speed to be an integer multiple of the light's flicker frequency. So for example, 1/5000th of a second. And as you can see, again, the footage is perfectly flicker free. Theoretically, these settings can be pushed even further, not least because of one remarkable feature of the GVM PRO-SD300B. Its flicker frequency is user adjustable in 100 Hz increments up to a maximum of plus 2000 Hz. Thanks to that, the flicker frequency can be fine-tuned to any frame rate and ultra-fast shutter speed one would possibly use on set. On top of that, even mixing the light with low-quality lights or regular household lights is a breeze, as the GVM can be easily adjusted to match the flicker frequencies of those. The test setup is now lit by a regular tungsten household light only. The frame rate and the power grid frequency don't quite match, so let's adjust this. 25p is a perfect match for 50 Hz environments, and we can see the flicker is gone. Now let's set a more common shutter speed in this case for regular filming. Let's say 1/50th of a second. And it still looks perfectly fine. Now let's add the GVM to the mix by setting it to the tungsten color match mode and a very low light output. So this is the lighting setup, and we can record a short test clip. As you can see, the test footage shows no flicker at all. Apart from flickering, another common weak point of many lights is stable power delivery. While I occasionally noticed a ripple when changing the power output quickly in large increments, the flow of current during regular operation was always perfect, even after hours of continued use. The light itself is made out of aluminum alloy and engineering-grade plastics. Manufacturing tolerances are low and there is no undesirable play or squeaking. Buttons and dials exhibit rich mechanical feedback, making them easy to operate under all circumstances. The lateral fastening screws are made out of unusually hard plastic, which gave me the impression that they might break when over-tightened. After intense use, I now know that my initial reservations were unjustified, as they are still perfectly fine. What immediately caught my attention was the high-quality rubber cable leading to the power brick. The thick rubber has heavy duty written all over it. Same goes for the brick and the cable leading to the light itself. I only wished for the latter being a bit longer. At the given length, the AC-DC converter has to be fixed to the light stand at regular working heights. Otherwise, it would dangle in the air and damage the connector. Thankfully, GVM included a fixation, which is not an elegant solution, but a practical one. Two additional design features are worth mentioning. First, the standard Bowens bayonet, and second, the GVM logo on the left side of the light. The latter lights up every time when the SD300B is turned on, which might be viewed as convenient by some and as annoying by others. The light offers three modes of operation: CCT, color matching, and light effects. CCT, which stands for correlated color temperature, is the standard mode for most situations. It lets you pick a Kelvin setting anywhere from 2700 Kelvin to 6800 Kelvin. Color matching allows the selection of one of 12 pre-programmed light source profiles. It sounds like a gimmick, but it is definitely not. I've tested and used these profiles and they are practically set and forget, as they are very accurate. Light effects is the mode I used and tested the least. It simulates one of 12 dynamic light effects. The power output of the light can be adjusted in 1/1000th steps from 0% to 100%. The light responds almost perfectly linear when being dimmed, as the lab test revealed. Additionally, various dimming curves are selectable in the menu. Internal heat sinks and the built-in fan deliver excellent cooling, the latter being reasonably quiet. The lights spin on the whole video, and I think it's almost inaudible on the audio track. Fine-tuning via the menu of the fan is possible. One nice feature is also the cool button on the rear. Pressing and holding it turns off the light and starts a cooling sequence, which automatically stops once the light is safe to touch. Pressing and holding the same button again brings it back up. Personally, I operate my lights mostly by walking up to them and using the controls on them directly. But should connectivity be required, the user has the option to choose from either DMX, a smartphone app, or a Bluetooth daisy chain. To answer the initial question whether the SD300B earned its keep or not, I can confidently state yes. Quality of light, performance, user experience, and overall practicability are excellent, and I would be hard-pressed to come up with any significant negatives. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing and following me on other social media. See you next time. Never stand next to a black cloth with a white shirt.